So far in the engineering design process, we've looked at the goal, we've asked the questions, clarifying questions, very clear about the goal, and we've imagined this possible solutions, and then we've come up with one that we think we can proceed forward with. Hey, this is Moni Singh, an engineer, a creator, a mother, and a lifelong learner. Many people know me as Miss STEM, the founder of the STEM for Kids movement. I created this channel to help you raise your children, your students, for success in this ever transforming world laced with increasing digital influence. You watch these videos because you know that there's something more inside your kids. They got the Elon Musk type of talent hidden inside them. If you haven't done so, hit the subscribe button, and I share regularly. And as a subscriber, you have access to the practical tips, tools, and resources to raise resilient creators. So, moving on with the planning phase. So, this is where now that you have an idea about what the solution could look like, now you plan it out and say, okay, in order to do this, let me get all the materials. Let me think about the materials, the positioning of how things might look, fit. How would I shape it? So you kind of put all that plan together. And again, you can have worksheets surrounding that to help children plan. You can have them even draw out their solutions so they're a little bit more clear about how this will work. And once they have done the planning, that's when you give them the materials, um, and have them go create their solution. Now, in most cases, this creation part of the time is the part that will take the longest. Um, Now, before I go further into the creation piece, we have had situations, at least one or two times, in my time when I was actually doing the instruction, and of course, it has kind of happened again as well, where sometimes the children, you know how they get impatient, right? And they're like, oh, give us the materials, we want to start building. What is this whole thing about imagining and planning? They don't want to take the step process, and they want to just jump and start building. And that could very well happen to you as well in your classroom. um, so you could, I mean, there are ways you can handle that depending on how you have the class dynamics flowing. You can say, no, this is how we are going to approach it, and this is how we are going to work. Or you can make it as a simple experiment where you say, okay, this sort of group wants to go ahead and not plan. We'll let them do that, but these set of students are actually following the process, and we'll see the end result. Like, we'll also compare and contrast as to how things proceeded. And you can actually make it a little experiment as well. Again, another learning opportunity, for children to see how it works. In some cases, yeah, it could be a faster process. They're able to get quickly move to the next step and start building stuff, and they have the creation that starts showing up much faster. So a much faster gratification, right, in terms of getting something made. And for some children, that's what they want. But then, on the other hand, because they didn't go through the planning process, they could be misusing the materials. They might waste those materials. And remember, the materials are limited, so they don't get any more materials. So they could just end up wasting it and not have a working product. So you could explain possible pros and cons. You can discuss the pros and cons with students. And if they still insist, yeah, maybe make it an experiment and let them go for it, right? Again, it's a learning process, staying flexible. And actually, you can watch one of my videos about staying flexible, is also a great idea, because you want to let children try out different things in a safe setting like this one, and learn from those experiences, and it's all good. All right, so now in the creation phase, this is where they'll be spending most of the time. They're actually building, putting things together the way they envisioned. And I want to again remind you that please be sure before you begin any engineering design project to set the expectations that there will be obstacles, there will be hurdles, there will be failures, they are going to feel stuck. And all that is normal. So please check out the this video for setting up the upfront expectations. And then secondly, when they are failing and just not feeling good about the progress that they are making, again, remember to celebrate those failures, because having found a way that something does not work is also a success. So check out the other video on how you can celebrate failures. Okay, so once they have built out whatever they had imagined, it's out there now in 3D. You can, as they say, they are done with the project, they've made something. You can have them bring it to the test station. If you did create a test station or some setup, you can have them build it there, bring it there, and the judge, whosoever is the judge, the adult, you can go through your checklist and show them clearly, okay, this passes, or this is how much. So, for example, with the EDP that we were working on, we were supposed to push the car and see how far it goes. So you're going to go through, measuring the distance. And again, when you go about measurement, you can make it a little bit of a Q&A session as well with the entire class, um, just to have some discussion, inquiry based learning around measurement and why we're going to measure it a certain way. I have another video on that you can check out. Um, so, if you're using a measuring tape, explain to them why we're using a measuring tape. And the way you do any of those explanation, again, is just based on, asking them questions. So the whole idea of inquiry-based learning. Okay, so you test it out and then you give them the results. You could have a worksheet where you can record all those as well, or you could record it for everybody's. So it's open to viewing for everyone actually on the whiteboard, so the entire group, the entire class can see how everyone's projects are faring. Now, once they have made it, and at least they have made the first versions of their product, by the way, as I mentioned, there'll be many failures. I was describing you some of the issues that can happen, right? One of the biggest issue that we see, especially with this making this car project, is that you have the axle. So this is what the skewer, right? That skewer, and then they cut out their wheels, which are also paper in this particular EDP, and they stick it to both the sides, right? And those are the wheels. The problem happens is if they actually stick the skewer directly to the cardboard, the cardstock, the piece of paper. Now this axle cannot really move. It's not really rotating, right? Because they have taped it to the cardboard, to the cardstock. So now the wheels are not going to rotate freely. And this is one of the main issues we see most of the times with these designs. And that's why actually we have in that EDP challenge, we have the straw, because one way to avoid that problem would be to insert the skewer inside the straw so that this is freely rotating inside the straw, and then you can stick the straw to the cardboard. That's one way to do it. Um, there are other ways to do it as well, but that's one thing where we see the problems happen. The other places where the problem happen is that the wheels that they create, the wheels may keep flying off as they're trying to move the car, so they may have to affix the wheels some way in a nice way. Of course, in some cases, they make the body very heavy for the wheel, for the paper wheel to tolerate that. So there'll be issues like that. And of course, you are not solving their problems, right? You are actually going to have them think about what's really happening. And in many cases, if you have a working model, let's say one of the groups actually has designed a model that's working, at least rolling, you can have children compare and contrast what's really happening. Why is this one moving and why is this one not moving? And have them start coming up with their own ideas about how they could change the design, do it differently, so that it can give them the results that they're looking for. Now, we also are asked a lot of questions about what do we do if one group of children have actually finished their project, they made it? So you can challenge them to make it even better. Maybe, one of the things could be that, let's say now this car rolled about 12 inches. Okay. You can say, okay, can you design a car that can roll 20 inches? right? So you can give them a challenge which kind of advances their reach. That's one way to do it. The second thing could be actually you can have this group or this individual who made the project help out other groups, right? So now they're working together with other people and trying to have them finish up their projects. So different ways that you can involve them so that everybody is engaged in solving a problem. So that's the engineering design project, a simple example that I just walked you through. Um, and as again, to emphasize, it is not a one-time cycle. In the real life, and even in when you're running these engineering design projects with kids, depending on the time that you allot for these activities, you might see multiple iterations as kids are trying to make their products better. And we do see that happen quite a bit. Many of the kids actually get totally into this, trying to make it even better. So you can, again, depending on the time, you can allow that to happen and let them come up with newer, better versions of their creations. Hey, now that you have watched this or heard what I just shared, go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done that yet. And also, depending on which platform you're on, go ahead and give me a 5-star rating or like and comment. And also share this resource with your friends and relatives so that they can also get their hands on all this valuable information that I'm sharing. Now, one more thing, I am giving away my 7 C's blueprint for raising successful children. So if you have not gotten a copy yet, go ahead and do that right away. You can go to www.raisingresilientcreators.com. The link is down in the description. So go ahead, click on it and get that resource. It's a very valuable resource that can help you with your priority of getting your children on the pathway towards success. So with that, again, subscribe to the channel and go ahead and get that resource right away.